Hello everyone and welcome back to Ruby Lessons and Code Academy. So in the last lesson we finished off the section of the Ruby course where we have finished learning about classes, or at least as much as they want us to know so far, and today we're just going to be making a project. It says that here we're going to be making like a computer class. To me it looks more like an operating system class, but oh well, we will see. So once we're ready, we can click save and submit code. Let's just reread that. Okay, so now that we have the knowledge, we will be able to do this, and it's going to help us manipulate imaginary files. And we're going to be generating instances of this class as well, like we have been doing beforehand. So let's just have a look at what they have given us as an example. So we have this class machine, which I guess means like the computer, or in our naming we are going to name it computer instead of a machine. So what they have done, they have a method which is initialize, so that just initializes it, that sets all the initial variables, username, password, user's username, so the list, an array of stuff, the files, so that's going to be also a dictionary, or I don't remember what the name of it was in Ruby, but well, that doesn't matter, it's like a dictionary. Then define, we have the create definition method, which file name takes a file name, gets the time of the file name of when the file has been created, adds the file to the files list or array, and gives us information of when the file was created, by the name and by which username, or by which user, sorry. And then we also have the machine gets users method, which just gives us all of the users on the machine. Fair enough, it's quite simple the way they have done it. Then they instantiate two new machines, my machine, your machine, which have the different passwords and different usernames. And we create stuff in them. So let's just see what gets printed out. It should be information about when those were created, and of course the users. There we go. Okay, so that's all fine. Let's move on. Let's actually get started in creating our own class. So create a class called computer, def class computer, and of course it's not def, it's just class computer. Then we have end, and in between create a class called computer and give it an initialize method, def initialize. I always doubt my spellings in stuff like this, and then I normally do actually spell it correctly, like I have done here, but oh well, just to make sure. And no, not there. Why are you putting it there? That's weird. I do not like the way they indent stuff. Honestly don't. It really annoys me, but oh well. That takes no parameters yet. The body of initialize should be empty. Okay, that's all fine for now. So we have defined an initialize method, which for now has nothing in it. Now let's spice up our initialize method by passing it some parameters and setting some instance variables. Which means we need the parentheses there, username and password. There we go. In the body of initialize, set the instance variables. Okay, so these are going to be instance specific variables, and add password equals password. There we go. In your initialize method, you also want to create a files instance variables and set this to an empty hash. Oh yeah, that was the name of, not the dictionary, it's a hash. Files equals empty hash. Okay, so that looks all fine for now. So just a reminder, a hash keeps an index of whatever you want and the object of whatever you want, so you can store two things at once. Have a little class. Let's go ahead and toss in a class variable. Okay, so we'll use the variable @users to keep track of all the users on our computer, because if you were logging into your computer, you would want to see all of the users that you can log in as. Sometimes you have admin, you have me, you have you, and stuff like that. You might have guest at the end, and those can be public in this case, and it would make a lot of sense to keep that as a class variable. So we can do that here, or actually best place to do it is going to be here, because the initialize method is always the first method that is run, I believe, so it doesn't really matter. If it does make a problem, we can know users equals, and for now it's going to be an empty, oh, it wants us to make it an empty hash, not a list. Fair enough. In your initialize method, set that users username equals password. So what was users? Okay. Okay, so in our initialize method, so what this is going to do, it's going to take the username as the index for in our users, and then make it equal to the password, which means we will have access, or we will have the list of all of the usernames and their passwords inside of our users hash. This in practice might not be very safe to do, because then it's quite easily, you can quite easily access the password through the username. But because it's just an example of what you could do, in this case it is going to work. So yeah, this is just going to be storing all of the usernames and the passwords inside of our users as we create new users. Okay. So that, yeah, as it says here, so that the user's hash keeps usernames as keys with each username's password as the associated value. And that's all going to be in the users hash. So let's move on. I think that it's quite self-explanatory so far. If it gets more detailed, then I will make sure to stop and give more detail. Excellent, our class is coming together, but it's a bit boring. Let's add another method, create. So we can easily define that. Define create. And we'll want to do a few things in it. Fair enough. Good, we have 4 tasks now, so I can go into more detail hopefully. Inside your computer class, define a method called create with a single parameter file name. File name, there we go. Let's not forget the end. Again, indenting, quite annoying, but oh well. Inside the create, declare a variable called time and set it equal to the current time using time.now, as it says there. And next, inside create, add a new key value pair of the file hash. So just to come back actually on time, don't worry too much about this. It's not something specific you would be required to know in programming. You can easily Google it. Things like this normally come from libraries, which allow you to easily extract the time from the current time. Normally, it just takes it from your clock on the bottom right of your screen. In Windows anyway, I don't know how it works on Mac, sorry. But in this case, it might actually take Google's time or Codecademy's time. I'm not too sure. We will see. Yeah, basically I'm just trying to say don't worry too much about this. It's not something specific, and it's not used that regularly to my knowledge. Next, inside the create, add a new key value pair of the files hash. So okay, files, and that's going to be add files. We want to add new stuff. So file name, key to store the value of time. So the key is file name, which unlocks the value time, as it says here. Then for the final step, please put a message telling the user that a new file has been created. Puts let's do file name, and we need to surround that in this without the P there, and I believe that's supposed to be there. There we go. File name, file has been created. I'm going to put quotation marks around it just to put it aside, or to make sure that they realize that that's the file. It's been created. at, and then we can have time. Full stop. And that should be fine. The one we used in exercise 1 printed the file name, the username, and the time. I don't really see a need to print the username because the user is creating it and they should know what their username is, so I'm not going to bother with that. However, I am going to tell them the file name just to make sure that their file is called what they want it to be called, and to tell them at what time, because they might not have easy access to their clock at the time. I think that that's the best thing to do. Now, even though we have created this, just like with methods, we haven't actually called it anywhere, so we get no output, which is fine, because we didn't expect any. So, going back, let's just explain what it does. If we ever call this method, we have to pass in a file name. So, say you're trying to create a file called, I don't know, music1. You pass this, you pass music1 to this method, which takes the current time, then adds the file name with the associated time to the file's hash on this certain computer. So just for this computer class, because you can have many different computers and have different files on them, and they will be kept separate. However, this one computer is going to have the same files, so you want them to be under this one files hash. So it's going to be stored in there. So imagine that's the hard disk drive where you're storing them. The files hash is the hard disk drive, and then there's just a message telling you that this has been successfully done. Okay, so let's move on. Who are the users? Perfect. Now that we think of it though, we could have a whole bunch of users creating files every which way, and we don't have a way of getting to our users class variable. We'll need to create a method to reach it. So, of course, we have no method defined to just give us the users. However, we do want to know who the users are. We'll need to create a method to reach it. So because @users is a class variable, we'll use a class method to grab it. So most of the methods you've seen so far are instance methods. They work on a particular instance object, such as mats or blixi. And that is not given as an example. Well, they're giving it as an example, but they haven't given us any code. So that means you have a computer called mats and another computer called blixi, is what they mean. So a class method belongs to the class itself, and for that reason it's prefixed with the class name like so. So let's see, define machine.hello. So you have the class, or in our case it's going to be computer dot whatever we want the method to be called. So this is new. So there is a shortcut which we will learn later on, fair enough. And so what we need to do, add a new class method to your computer class called computer.getUsers. It should have no parameters. Let's define computer.getUsers with an underscore, no parameters. Let's end, and should return @users, which is going to allow us, when we call this method, to just give us all of the users straight away, the hash of the users. And that's quite helpful because, as I said at the start, as you're logging in, you want to see all of the users so that you can choose the one that you are. If we save and submit, everything should be fine. Good, let's move on. However, to do this, you would have to do puts users, because it just returns, it doesn't puts itself, but that's another problem, I guess. It's not really a problem, it's just a thing that you would have to get around. Instantiation nation, excellent last step. Let's actually create an instance of our computer class, because so far we haven't been able to experience the power of it. So it's like having a computer but not turning it on yet. You've done this before, but here's a refresher. We have Emma, so the name that we want to give it equals the class name dot new, and then the parameters that, or the arguments that it requires. In our case, it's going to be user and password. Of course, I'm going to pass password 123, just saying. In the example above, we first define a person class with initialize method, yep. Then we create a new instance of person and store it in a new variable called Emma. Yep, fair enough, that's all good. Instructions after your class: create a new instance of computer and store it in a variable called myComputer. So computer.new username and password. I wouldn't recommend using this password anywhere, but I am going to use it as an example here. So feel free to use whatever username and password you like for your arguments. Okay, so now we will have created a user on this computer. That's all good. Let's move on. Oh, okay, let's see. Let's play around with it then. Great work, you've got your very own computer class that generates virtual computer instances. Feel free to play around with your class. What if you add a method that updates files or deletes them? What if you want to add additional parameters to initialize or create? So when you've got your computer working just the way you want it, click Save and Submit Code to finish this project. So before I finish off, I would like to test all of the methods that we have created at least. For that, now that we have actually instantiated one of our a class or an object, let's use create. So myComputer.create, and let's create a file called, as I said before, music1. What do we get? Good, we get what we had expected to get, this line of code. Puts, and then when it was created. 2 o'clock, and whatever. I don't think that is my local time. I think my local time is like 3 o'clock, but that doesn't matter. It's just an example, and our file name is called music1, as we can see there. Let's use our other method, which is get users. So I believe let's try two things. So myComputer.getUsers. If we do that, oops, underscore users. Okay. If we do computer.getUsers, computer.getUsers. Okay, so if you want to access a class method, then you have to do the class name.getUsers. I believe that in C++ you can either do the class name or an instance object and it still gives you the same result, but that's something I would have to check. So Ruby is kind of different. It doesn't allow you to use an instance to run a class method, which is kind of interesting. So let's see what happens if we add other users. Do we actually get more output than just this? So let's do your computer equals computer.new and you 1 2 3, and as you can see, we get a new key value pair called u and then the password of u123, which is what we had expected to get, and that's all good. So that's going to be kind of the official end of the video. If you want to stick around, I will actually try to go into more detail and make a deletes method in this. So if that's all you want to watch, then thank you so much for watching. Do feel free to ask any comments in the comment section, any questions in the comment section down below. But for those of you who do want to stick around and find out how to create a delete files method, then please do stay. So let's start off by defining a new method called delete file. Let's do delete underscore file, and it's going to take the argument of the key, and in this case that's going to be the file name. So file name, and then oops, I did not mean to put the comment there, and so once we take the file name, we will want to remove it from our, from our files cache. And that shouldn't be that difficult. We can do @files.remove file name. and I do believe that that is going to work. Let's just try it out. So we have created this music1 file. Let's just test it again to see that it does work. It shows that it has been created. Let's create another method that gives us all of the current files that are in here. So get define get files, I believe should be fine. Get files, and we don't need any parameters for that. Oops, that should be end. And then we want to just return add files, and that is going to allow us to just check this. So puts my underscore computer dot get files, just to make sure that it works. And as you can see, we have this one file which has the name of music1 and the date. So now let's try to delete it using our new method we have created over here. To do that, I'm going to do my underscore computer. Well, actually, before I do that, I know that after I do this, I'm going to want to check that it has successfully been removed. But now let's get onto this. My computer dot delete file, which is the method that I have just created, and file name music1. If I want to delete the file, I would have to know its name, so I am free to just pass this in. So let's see what happens now. Okay, it's not the remove method then. Let me find the actual keyword of how to remove stuff from a hash. Be right back. So I found what it is by just yahooing. For some reason, Yahoo is my default engine. Just don't ask why. It's just delete. Much simpler than remove, I guess. So if we do files.delete, if we run it now, as you can see, the file was there. After we ran this line of code, it's not there anymore. So we have successfully done the delete part. And if by updates it means just to give us the current files, then we have also done that. So now, thank you so much for watching this video. If you do have any questions left, do feel free to ask them in the comments down below. I will answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please give me a like, share and subscribe. It helps me out and encourages me to make more videos such as this one. So in the next video, we will see what we're going to be doing. We are actually almost finished with the Ruby course. We are over 85% done, I believe. So if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see next done, then do feel free to ask in the comments down below, and I will take it into consideration and probably do it because I haven't been getting much feedback. I was kind of planning of maybe doing my own one video of which programming language to do. So if you would like to see my own video of not connected to Codecademy or anything of which programming language should you start learning, then do comment that down below as well. But yeah, until next time, thank you so much for watching once again, and goodbye.